Hello, everyone. Tis I. I want to talk about head of the household and how things have changed over time. My grandma lived to 100, but in her house, they had 8 children, numerous grandchildren, great grandchildren, etc. But my grandpa went to work and my grandma ran the house. But grandpa was the head and my grandma was the heart. So that aspect happened. And we were always taught respect for my grandparents. It didn't happen any other way. You didn't mouth off. You didn't talk back. When my grandpa wanted to get to his chair in the living room, everyone parted like the Red Sea, and he went and sat down. And that's the way it was. And in our household, with my mom and dad, my dad went to work. My mom primarily ran the house. She was the head of the household, and my dad, he provided. And so that's how my family went. And I believe when it came down to us, I was born in the 70s. A lot of us went through divorce and we found ourselves feeling sorry for our kids because how dare we, and why would why don't you just stay together for the kids? This was the norm. So I think a lot of us parented out of guilt and we lost our status in our households. We became friends with our kids and shared with them details of our lives that our parents would have never shared with us. I'm not saying my parents were perfect, but in our eyes, I was led to believe my mom had never done anything wrong, which meant there was a disconnect between her and I because the choices I made as a teen. I had sex in high school, so because I thought my mom had never committed a sin, I really couldn't talk with her. I could just talk with other people I thought would understand, that I could confide in. And so I went on, when my daughters were old enough, went through a divorce. I didn't become their best friends. I just thought I didn't want to make myself out to be a saint. I wanted them to know that they didn't have to be perfect. And I shared with them the choices I had made, not only as a teenager, but even after I got married, when I was single. I thought I wanted them to know that they could come to me without judgment. So therefore, instead of me being the head of the household, the lines were blurred. And I believe my children became head of the household. Not that I didn't still have a certain amount of authority, and not that I couldn't implement rules and things like that, but I think we became more on an equal playing field. And I think that's where we, as parents, lost our grip and lost the ability to have children that had a certain respect for their parents, a certain fear of their parents, a certain tie to their parents. They looked at us more like friends, more similar to friends than parents. And there's nothing wrong with what we did, but what happened in my case is it came back to bite me in the butt. I shared with my daughters intimate details of my life, and it came back to bite me tenfold. And I was treated as lesser than because now I'm an imperfect person. And how could someone imperfect raise children? And what kind of a role model could I be? So I think that's where the lines were blurred. It doesn't happen in all cases, but I've seen it time and time and time again. And there's nothing we can do about it. All we can do for our children that are still in the home, of which I don't have any, I have a stepson, is say, I'm not your friend. We're not on the same page. There's got to be respect, or we cannot live together. And that means one of us has got to go, and it's not going to be me because this is my house. So you have to implement certain rules and regulations and consequences for their actions, and you have to stop being their friend. They don't have to know everything about your intimate and personal life, what you did when you were in high school. That's what our friends are for. That's what our high school friends are for. That's what our college friends are for. That's what our same age friends are for. So don't ever put your children on the same level as you on the food pyramid. You're supposed to be at the top, and they are supposed to be your children and not have to worry about adult situations. Let them get those experiences for themselves, even if we share. Hey, by the way, and I smoke pot. It doesn't mean your children aren't going to smoke pot if you tell them about the dangers of marijuana or drugs, drinking and driving, having sex. All you can do is say, well, kids in high school, it's what happens, but you don't have to do it. I'm here for you if you want to talk, but let's stop being friends with our children. They are our children. We should have friends of our own ages, partners, etc. And that's all there is to it. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.